Yeah, man, I love that light. That's like the best light I've ever had. Okay. Whoa, bro. That's like 17,000 lumens.
We ready?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're live.
Okay. Mr. Trump. I must say I was not ready. I did not expect that. I expected Crooked Hillary. I wasn't happy about Crooked Hillary. I'm not thrilled. I didn't vote for Crooked Hillary.
Neither of us voted. Nobody voted, but that we know of.
I did not expect the Trump thing. Sarcastically, I was thinking maybe that's exactly what the system needs, is a stressor to kind of shake shit up and rattle it and wake people up to the political process being corrupt and archaic, i.e. electoral college.
Mm-hmm.
But he still scares me. The racism, the bigotry, the fear-mongering, stirring people up. But here's his... Let's go through his... I read his first 100 days and I was actually shocked. It's actually kind of interesting if this is what he really believes in. So first, propose a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on all members of Congress. Unfortunately, he's not a CEO of a company, and the people who decide laws are not the executive branch. I don't know if he learned that in civics, but he's part of the executive branch, and the executive branch does not make law.
Yeah.
So only Congress shall make laws. So I don't think he understands quite how the process works. I mean, it's a great idea. I'm totally on with it, but...
Well, he's not a politician. That's the thing, where he doesn't understand the roots of how shit works.
But as a businessman, if you're going to acquire a company, at least you do your research and you figure out if that company is solvable, right? I mean, you're gonna do your research as a businessman, and you're gonna say, okay, what are the pros and cons of buying this company? You think he would at least have done that with the government, and at least understood the very basics: conjunction, junction, what's your function, schoolyard rock.
Well, yeah.
Watch a couple cartoons.
I think he gets it, but he doesn't get it. Like, he thinks that since he's going to be president, he's going to be able to pass laws.
Yeah, that's Congress. Okay. So second, a hiring freeze on all federal employees to reduce federal workforce through attrition. Good idea. I guess you could do that with an executive order. Third, a requirement for every new federal regulation, 2 existing regulations must be eliminated. So basically, that's like kind of like blue book laws. All this, we just keep making laws, but we never take any away.
Yeah.
And then that creates an environment where you can just kind of pick and choose which law to enforce, because there's 7 bazillion, so who knows if you're breaking one or not.
Right.
I've heard statistics that in a given day, the average American breaks like 40 laws a day.
Well, yeah, because you have the laws that are not enforced anymore, like
right.
spitting on a sidewalk on Sunday.
Right.
Which...
So this is an idea to get rid of that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Fourth, a 5-year ban on White House and congressional officials becoming lobbyists after they leave government. So basically, almost like a no moonlighting.
Yeah.
That's
I agree with that, yeah.
Yeah, totally. Fifth, a lifetime ban on White House officials lobbying on behalf of a foreign government. Okay. 6, a complete ban on foreign lobbyists raising money for the American elections. Totally agree. And then he says first. So the first 7 actions to protect American workers. I will announce my intention to renegotiate NAFTA or withdraw. Hell yes.
Yeah, NAFTA needs to get out.
Yeah, that was a huge bad idea. Second, I'll announce our withdrawal from the TPP. Totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
Third, I will direct my Secretary of Treasury to label China a currency manipulator. I don't know what that would do, but that is true. They do play that game.
Mm-hmm.
Fourth, I will direct the Secretary of Commerce and U.S. Trade Representatives to identify all foreign trading abuses that unfairly impact American workers and direct them to use every tool under American law and international law to enter those abuses immediately. Basically, investigate unfair trade practices.
Well, yeah. I mean, okay. The first, I think, I can't remember exactly because it's been a while since I heard the speech of him talking about this, but it was the first, I think, 20 shit things that he says about what he's going to do when he's elected is agreeable.
Yeah.
It's like a whole different turn of Trump, from the fighting for the nominee, all the 3 debates that was held. He didn't talk about anything like this. He was just always bashing.
Build a wall.
Yeah, build a wall.
Fuck Muslims.
Yeah, rapists. Mexicans are rapists, and doing shit like that.
It's not your fault you're fat and lazy. It's the immigrants' fault.
Yeah, it's a whole left turn of
some
radical, crazy.
I think
Trump.
someone wrote this for him.
I think Pence might have done it.
Yeah, he hired some economist or something. But here's where we Gesundheit. Mm-hmm. Here's where we get into some weird shit, and this is where I totally depart from Mr. Trump. I will lift the restrictions on the production of $50 trillion worth of job-producing American energy reserves, including shale oil, natural gas, and clean coal. First of all, let's discuss clean coal. There is no such thing. That's a bullshit marketing term. All coal is nasty. They dynamite entire fucking mountains to rubble to get to the coal. Then, during the processing coal, they have what's called coal ash, which they store in giant reservoirs, which happen in your great state of Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And when the dike ruptured, all this toxic arsenic, heavy metal, mercury that sits there in these ponds flushed down the mountainside into a village, a small town, and basically everyone has to move and can't live there for the next 1,000 years.
Right.
Okay, you can't do this anymore. We've got to grow out of this dependency on fossil fuels. I'm not radical. I'm not saying flip a light switch, perfect utopia.
And here's my idea. Not my idea. My thoughts is we're both gearheads. We love gasoline and the sounds 100%. That come out of it.
Yeah.
But eventually, this fossil fuel shit's gonna run out.
It's got to stop.
It's gonna run out.
It's got to stop.
Yeah.
Well, just the impacts of what happens alone, especially fracking. Fracking, you're taking all these chemicals, which somehow these corporations are allowed not even to tell us what they are. So there's a whole list of proprietary chemicals.
You shouldn't be able to go on a boat and light the water on fire.
Dude, you shouldn't be able to use chemicals and not tell anyone what they are.
Yeah, and
what
poison thousands of people in the community that are drinking the water out of the tap. It's that scary.
I mean, freedom of information. What are you putting in the ground? No one knows. They have a proprietary concoction of toxic chemicals that they inject down into the ground, and they're not telling anyone. And people like Trump and Republicans say that's okay. That's creating jobs. Everything's about jobs.
Well, it doesn't matter if you're creating jobs or not. It's the moral right of you creating jobs, but it's also killing people in the process.
Exactly. Who cares if you have a job today if my grandkids grow third arms out of their forehead? Right.
It's not an okay thing. If I'm drinking water out of the tap.
Okay, here's the other one, and this one's near and dear to my heart. He doesn't mention it, but lift the Obama-Clinton roadblocks to allow vital energy infrastructure projects like the Keystone Pipeline to move forward. Big
That's
red flag.
Dangerous.
That's DAPL.
Yeah.
So basically he's saying, fuck the Native Americans, let's cram this pipeline down their throat.
And that pisses me off. These people's ancestors were here before we were. And we are just shitting on them since the dawn of the time we've been here. Since the fucking pilgrims we've been just fucking them over. And now that we give them a little plot of land and their elders and the kids that are there that learn this history, and they don't bother anybody. They have a little community. They love the land, and they teach people their heritage. And then we come in there, and then we're just like, no, man, fuck you. Happy Columbus Day.
I don't even know where to begin on that. The biggest issue I have with that is zero media coverage. I used to be, as a kid, I was a huge Peter Jennings fan. I was ABC News all the way. I mean, it was like Coke and Pepsi. You had NBC, CBS, and ABC. I was like big ABC.
Pepsi all the way,
big news junkie. And then when CNN first came on board, I was a big CNN junkie. And, everyone used to say, oh, that damn, Alex Jones, that damn liberal media, the fucking liberal media. And then Fox News comes along, which is totally the opposite of liberal media. It's freaking right-wing fundamentalist, not much different than the Taliban, religious, extremist, small-minded freaking propaganda. It shouldn't be allowed to be called news. But the thing, and I always take stuff with a grain of salt. I watch a little bit of Alex Jones just for kicks. The lizard people.
It's hilarious. It's entertaining.
And more news is just sensationalism. That they care about freaking Justin Bieber and Beyonce and not real news. But I still thought that, naively, I guess, that it was news until the Dakota Access Pipeline came along. And I realized, here's the largest story of our time.
Yeah.
Here's 300 Native American tribes getting together all the way from Latin America, from Peru.
Yeah.
Aztecs, Hawaiians, Maori from New Zealand are all showing up, and no news coverage. Just that alone. Ignore the pipeline, ignore the gas, ignore the protest, ignore any of that. If 300 tribes of indigenous people get together to freaking have a beer, that's a story. Most of these tribes were mortal enemies. I mean, that would literally be like the Palestinians and the Jews getting together for a common goal. That's never happened. Israeli Jews and Palestinians don't generally break bread together. So imagine 300 tribes like that all getting together for one purpose, one goal, one common enemy. That's a story. So where the fuck is CNN? Where are these news stations?
It's all bought out, man.
And that's when I woke up. That's when I was like, fuck the news. I'm going to get all my news off social media. I'm going to get it off these YouTube news channels, Democracy Now, exactly, TYT.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the big network news programs are going to go the way of the dinosaur.
For sure.
They've outlived their usefulness. They're bought and paid for. They're corrupt.
Because this shit's so fucking ridiculous. And look. Some people disagree with me, and that's fine. And the only reason why I say this is because I grew up with police officers in my life. And if it wasn't for some cops that sat me down, I would probably be in jail growing up in my life because I was so fucked up. I'm pro police officers. And so since I see those cops walking with no badges, no name tags, it's such a disgrace to the people that actually do that.
Dude.
And honor that badge.
They've been firing what they call non-lethal rounds, which are 12-gauge shotgun slugs, rubber bullets.
Yeah, they're rubber bullets.
At
They're
point blank range. You're talking less than 10 feet in people's faces.
That can cause your body, if it's hit in the right place, for you to go in shock and die.
Yeah, but here's the issue is, the cops who are geared up with knee pads, shoulder pads, face shields, body armor, they feel threatened by 80-year-old grandma Indian lady with feathers that's singing and praying, and their excuse for shooting grandma is, I feel threatened.
Yeah, and those people are...
You're a pussy.
Yeah,
If you feel threatened by an unarmed grandmother, you're a fucking pussy,
or
and I will meet you in a fucking boxing ring tomorrow.
Yeah.
Take the fucking badge off, Put down your stupid little gun, you pussy. If you're that fucking scared, you don't need to be wearing a fucking badge.
No.
You fucking chicken shit piece of shit. Sorry.
Yeah.
I can't watch that shit.
You shoot a teenage girl in the face. Why? Because she's intimidating.
Did you see the reporter that got shot on air? So a news reporter shows up that does freelance work for ABC and CNN. Mm-hmm. She shows up. She's mid-interview. The land is Army Corps of Engineer land, technically by today's bullshit laws. Yeah. It's original 1851 Fort Laramie Treaty. Mm-hmm. So that treaty was established after the Battle of Little Bighorn, when Custer literally it's that historical.
Yeah.
Okay. So that treaty was signed. It was ratified. It was signed off by Congress. And later, when the United Nations was formed, the United Nations had a program to set up laws to help protect indigenous peoples worldwide, right? Globally. Yeah. That treaty was introduced to the United Nations at a later date. United Nations recognized it and ratified it. Okay, so not only is this a treaty between the U.S. government and the Sioux tribe, it's also formally recognized as the United Nations treaty. Mm-hmm. So this has got every legitimacy that can be stamped on it, okay? A piece of it was taken in the 1930s to get uranium, and of course they found gold and all this other bullshit, right? So they took half of the natives' land without their permission, obviously. Yeah. Basically broke the treaty, and they designated it Army Corps of Engineer managed land. Okay. Yeah. That's the piece of land that they're on right now. Okay. Mm-hmm. So no one can technically go on that land, including the Native Americans, without Army Corps permission. Yeah. On that land, there's this hill right next to a riverbank. And across from that riverbank is the drill pad that the oil company has built. That's the pad where they're going to go under the Missouri River. So they're building this drill pad, and I'll get to that in a second. Okay, so there's a drill pad, a little bit of land, a river, and then this hill. Mm-hmm. On that hill, there are fucking snipers. Why are there snipers if someone's protesting? Why would you need a sniper? You can't handle protesters with a billy club? Why would you need a sniper? So anyway, up on this hill are all these cops and snipers to get elevation to be able to view the protesters and what they're doing, right? That was me. Oh, that was you. So the people get pissed because guess what the hill is? What? It's an Indian barrel mill. Wow. And there's specifically, I mean, we're not talking that many generations away, right? Yeah. Little Bighorn, we're talking 1860s to 1880s. Yeah. That some of these people were killed, and that's not that old. If my grandparents were still alive, that would be their father. Yeah. Their mother. And so some of the natives there have grandparents and great grandparents that they knew in person, when they were alive, mm-hmm. that are buried in that hill. That is a gravesite. Yeah. So obviously they're pissed. So they come up one day, and in the middle of the night, they build a bridge across the river out of wood, just literally firewood. They build a bridge to cross the river. Mm-hmm. That next morning, here's all the goon squad, 7 federal agencies or police force that were, it was a law that was created after Hurricane Katrina, that was designed to have interstate support. Yeah. Basically, it's a break in case of emergency. If we have a natural disaster, mm-hmm. Me as a governor or me as a sheriff or a police chief can ring the bell, and I can get I can allow other states to support me. Yeah. So the local sheriff of this county, I guess Cannonball is the name of the city, has rung that bell and got multiple state agencies to come in for an emergency. Mm-hmm. Okay, not a natural disaster. It's a bunch of women and children and men praying, because all they've ever done is pray. There's giant signs at the front of the camps. You're not allowed to have firearms. You can't even have a pocket knife. Mm-mm. There are no weapons. There are no drugs. There are no alcohol. You can't have a beer with you. Mm-mm. So it's not like they're a bunch of hoodlums. So anyway, they build this bridge. The next day, here's all these SWAT gear, riot police, point blank range, shooting tear gas in their face in literally 5-pound cans. that look like fire extinguishers, point blank in everyone's face, firing rubber bullets just indiscriminately.
Yeah.
So while this is going on, this newscaster is doing an interview, and they're filming her with obviously a big, light, big camera. She's got a separate camera person. As she's doing the interview, bam, she gets shot with a rubber bullet live on camera. Now, no one knows for sure, but a lot of what's been said, because Amy Goodman from Democracy Now! Was arrested. Mm-hmm. Everyone knew she was a reporter. There was a lady that filmed. There were a couple protesters that, I don't know if you saw that, but they went, and there were, I think, 4 or 6 valves in different states that are giant valves to pipelines from the fracked oil from Canada.
Yeah.
And protesters went and filmed it live and shut the valves off. They called the company and said, hey, we're about to shut the valves off. Do whatever your emergency procedures are. But in protest, we don't want this fracking oil coming into our country. We're here. We're going to give you 10 minutes. We're going to shut the valve. And they shut every single valve to all the oil coming in from Canada. Mm-hmm. Okay, one of the reporters that filmed that event, that's news. She didn't participate. She didn't agree with it necessarily. Mm-hmm. She wasn't part of their gang or part of their protest group.
She was reporting it.
All she was doing is she got a story, and it's a big story, obviously. Someone's about to shut down freaking oil.
Yeah.
She was filming it. She's facing 45 years in prison.
For what?
They're making up a bunch of weird felony charges. They're saying it's basically a terrorist act. They're basically charging her with a terrorist act to attack infrastructure, critical U.S. infrastructure. So basically, it's as if she blew up a bridge. It would be like if me and you went to the Hoover Dam and laid dynamite on the Hoover Dam and blew up the Hoover Dam. They would charge us with a felony of destroying critical infrastructure.
Yeah.
So by her filming that, she became witness to it, and therefore conspiracy.
Wow.
45 years. So basically what happens in today's day and age, and this is why I'm anti-cop, is cops follow orders.
Yeah.
And generally cops aren't the brightest tool in the shed. Mm-mm. Very rarely are they educated. Mm-hmm. Mostly they get between $10 and $12 an hour starting. Mm-hmm. You can make that at Walmart. So what would make me want to be a cop? Well, maybe I was picked on as a kid.
Yeah.
Bullies,
Bullies are,
and
most
so
bullies are cops.
What happens is these people blindly follow orders, and they don't think. They don't say, am I doing the right thing?
Exactly.
So back to the Standing Rock issue, here's thousands of fucking cops called in to literally one of the actions was last Thursday when it went down, there was another camp they called Sacred, I think it was this Sacred something camp. I forget what it was, but they actually moved a camp directly in the line of the pipeline. Mm-hmm. Again, on the 1851 treaty land, mm-hmm. Army Corps land. It wasn't private property. Mm-mm. The cops were called in. They came in, marching forward. They came into the camp. In the middle of the camp, the natives, what I've learned recently, and this is my heritage that I never knew, but it's amazing how spiritual these people are. They pray about everything. Mm-hmm. So literally, no lie, this is fact. There was a group camped in that little camp in a sweat lodge of elders. And there was one teenage boy because they're trying to pass that heritage on to their kids. Yeah. So there's one teenage boy in there that was like 16. And they interviewed him, and I watched his interview live because I'm personally friends with some people that are up at the camp. Yeah. So I got some Facebook live streaming of the actual event. Mm-hmm. So they're in a sweat lodge ceremony, naked, basically, in ceremony. They're in prayer. They're in church. Mm-hmm. Now, we don't recognize it because it's not a cathedral with indoor-outdoor carpet and AC and giant stained glass windows. Yeah. It's a teepee. But nonetheless, it is church.
It's spiritual. Yeah.
So they're in this church, and literally what they were praying for, they were praying for the cops.
Wow.
They were praying for the cops' souls. Wow. Because in their mindset, it's not the cops' fault. The cops are corrupted. The cops have a bug, like a sickness, like the flu. And that flu is greed. That flu is corporate greed. And that they're innocent people, and they're good people. They're good at heart. But for whatever reason, they've got afflicted by this flu, which is causing them to beat us, and that flu's causing them to shoot us with rubber bullets. It's causing them to follow orders blindly without thinking. Mm-hmm. So the prayer session is praying for the cops' souls.
Wow, man.
And in the middle of this prayer, it gives you goosebumps.
It does, yeah.
In the middle of this prayer, riot police come in, tear the tent down, and rip these people out, step on them, knee in their back, zip tie them, hog tie them like cattle, elderly 80, 90-year-old spiritual shaman in sweat, who are literally, and I don't know if you've ever done this before, but it's very similar to, an LSD trip or a Kundalini yoga, is they get into a trance. So they're in the sweat lodge, they're in there for hours, and they literally start hallucinating. And dude, they're not even connected to our world.
No.
So it's an extremely shocking experience to all of a sudden have daylight, people stepping on you, sticking guns in your face. You don't know what the fuck's going on.
You're in a lodge where it's
sacred.
It's around over 100 degrees.
Yeah.
For hours.
And peaceful.
And
you're in ceremony.
You're in a meditative trance, and then you just get woken up to reality abruptly and violently.
And extremely violently.
Yeah.
So here's where it gets really fun. Is this sheriff, he's from Morton County, is the name of the county, Morton County Sheriff. I can't pronounce his name. It sounds Polish or something.
Oh yeah, I got to bring the Polak.
Anyway, they're arresting so many people and they're using intimidation. A lot of the females that they're arresting, if they're Native American, they strip them down naked and keep them in a cell overnight before they even give them a jumpsuit. So they teenage girls, 16, 17-year-old girls, yeah. Strip them down naked. Now, the girl that did the interview, that's a friend of mine, is white. Mm-hmm. She got arrested during that same sweat camp action, and she got separated. The men and women got separated. The cops that had them in the back of they put them in a Suburban, zip tied, and as they were piled in there, they put too many because they ended up arresting, I think, somewhere around 147 people in one day. Okay, what they're trying to do is get rid of the protesters and just intimidate them, and then charge them, and then hopefully it scares the shit out of them. They go back home. So as she's in the back, they're driving the 40-minute drive to Morton County to get booked. Never been read their Miranda rights. Mm-hmm. Have no idea what they're charged for. A lady writes on their arm a number, very similar to the Nazi tattoo that was put on all the Jewish people at Auschwitz.
Yeah. I mean, they put them Native Americans in internment camps too.
Yeah. But the number is significant, right?
Too, yeah.
Because it's psychological.
It starts with a letter, and then it's numbers.
And so they write that with a Sharpie on her, and they write the charge, something trespassing. And so anyway, on the 40-minute drive to Morton County, what she says is the cop keeps brake checking.
That's psychological.
And every time he's doing that, they're slinging around in the back of the truck, banging their head on the back of the seat and banging their heads on each other, because he's just literally, him and his buddy are laughing, and they're like getting 55 miles an hour and just slamming on brakes and rocking the people in the back, just basically to fuck with them.
Yeah.
Okay. Then they get them to the sheriff's office. No one still knows what they're charged for. They don't get phone calls. They don't get a meal. They take insulin. Some of these people are diabetic. They take their insulin from them. Okay? That is criminal negligence. That right there is attempted murder. Mm-hmm. If I'm a stage 2 diabetic and you take my medicine from me, that's against the Geneva Convention. Mm-hmm. That's against any law on any battlefield, much less in the U.S. in the middle of a city for trespassing, which is a misdemeanor. Okay?
Yeah.
Even if we're at war with terrorists and they're diabetic, we give them their meds.
Oh, yeah.
So they confiscate everything. They put them in literally a makeshift, basically dog kennel. It's a chain link fence pod that holds about 30 to 35 people.
I heard about this.
In a parking garage. Okay? No meds, no food, no phone calls, no Miranda rights, don't know what they're charged for, held. The next day, they round them up and ship them to other places, to an official jail to officially book them and fingerprint them. Dude, basically that was kidnapping. You haven't told me what I'm charged for. Mm-hmm. You held me overnight without a phone call. You're breaking so many laws. I've lost finger and toes. I can't count on fingers and toes how many. I need a calculator to keep up with how many violations you've done.
Fucking sickening. Though.
They're doing this daily. They do it every day, and they've done it since April.
That's so fucking sickening.
Okay,
It's
so
disturbing.
Meanwhile, Hillary didn't mention anything about it. Trump doesn't mention anything about it. Obama, when they finally pushed him on it, you know what he said? Let's wait a couple weeks and see how it plays out. Quote.
It's ridiculous, man.
Daily, this is happening.
That's ridiculous. And it's
in our country. So here's my issue. It's happening.
Nobody has any moral compass anymore? Like,
Dude, this could happen to me or you. This could happen to your mother.
Yeah.
This could happen to your fiance, your wife.
Fucking ridiculous.
Your wife could get stripped down naked and stared at in a cell overnight.
Yeah.
How would you feel?
I want to kill somebody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you get violent, all of a sudden now you're a domestic terrorist.
Mm-hmm. And then you are a threat. And you get shot with a rubber bullet in the face.
So basically, they're doing whatever the fuck they want when they want. Dude, that's how you create terrorism.
Yeah, and then they were hiding some of the hired goons from the fucking pipeline and sticking them behind the lines with the protesters with AKs. And
how this started, here's the hypocrisy.
Yeah.
How this started, I think the name of the highway is 1803, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm sorry, not M4s or AKs. It was fucking ARs.
Yeah.
I apologize.
So basically, if you roll this back to, I don't know, August, September timeframe, I forget. The indigenous peoples, along with some environmentalists, set up a roadblock where the pipeline was going to go. The cops came in, arrested 200 and something people, did the treatment that we discussed. Mm-hmm. And the reason they arrested them is they said you put a roadblock on a state highway and you're impeding potential emergency traffic. In other words, if someone in your camp needs medical assistance, the ambulance is not going to be able to get to them. Therefore, I'm going to arrest you, right? Because you're creating an endangerment to civilians. Okay, so that's the charge. The cops come in, you set up a roadblock, you're protesting, you're.
What about the cops' roadblocks?
Well, I'm getting there. After they broke up the roadblock, which was just sticks and crates and tires,
like hay and shit,
yeah. They came in with concrete barriers and razor wire and set up an identical roadblock.
Yeah, and then they put their vehicles in the grass.
So it's okay for them to impede emergency services. So which tells you they don't give a fuck about someone having a medical issue in the camp.
Yeah, it's hypocrisy.
They don't give a fuck.
That's hypocrisy.
So then what happened was there was a fire. Someone miraculously, mysteriously set a brush fire out there. Uh-huh. The natives saw a truck. It looked like a DAPL worker truck because they all look, I guess, similar.
They're all like white Chevys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They saw one, and then right after that, a fire started. The wind was blowing towards the camp. So the thought was maybe someone set an intentional fire to burn all the people out of the camp. Well, luckily the wind shifted. But meanwhile, they called 911. 911 didn't respond.
Wow.
But if someone sets up to do a prayer protest, cops are there in minutes.
And you know the funny shit is?
So if me and you were there, let's say me and you are in the camp.
Yeah.
You and I and 10 other people start walking down the street with drums and we start singing. Uh-huh. Cops are on us like fucking white on rice.
Oh, yeah.
If a fire comes and I call 911, where are the cops? Just crickets.
Right.
I don't know where the cops are.
This is some shit that you would hear about in fucking Brazil, India.
Third world country.
Third world countries.
Yeah, it's happening in 2016.
Yeah. You would hear about this shit like go on in fucking rural England.
I'm telling you, dude, our government is sick. Our government is sick.
It's scary.
It is scary.
Because, look, I know people that are police officers, and I know them well enough that they would jump over that fucking roadblock and join the protesters because their moral rights would kick in.
I hope.
Oh, I know.
We need to talk to them.
Oh, yeah. And
we should bring someone into our podcast and have this discussion.
Yeah, I could bring Doug in.
What would you do in this situation?
Yeah, because, like a buddy of mine who's about to be a police officer for the Escambia County Sheriff's Department where we live, and he has a daughter. I couldn't never see him do that. And that just blows my mind that these people some of these cops are so absent-minded and bought out.
And the other thing is, you swear an oath to the Constitution to protect the people from any foreign or domestic enemy. Mm-hmm. Okay? They are becoming the domestic enemy.
What I think
and they're hired prostitutes for a fucking corporation.
What I think it is some of these cops are out there with their mind blown. Because this is what I saw. There's I forgot his name. It's very hard to pronounce, but I'm a friend with Facebook to watch his live feeds. He does it every day. And he does very, very well taking pictures of what's going on. And if anybody is familiar with riot gear, they weren't in full riot gear. They had face shields on and uniform. No, with their which is standard regulation. You have a body.
Oh, I've seen them with the shoulder plates and the knee plates.
Oh yeah. I've seen that too. But I'm talking about in the front lines. There was these cops instead of uniform. They had their bulletproof vest on, like regulation. But they also had the billy clubs, like everybody's seen. But nobody's paid attention to the gloves they're wearing. Those gloves are made for hand-to-hand combat. The knuckles are like metal.
Yeah, so why would you show... In other words, the person... I heard some quote. The person that's looking for a fight is going to be dressed the part.
Exactly.
So if I show up and I'm... Let's say I am a rioter. Let's say I'm a thug and I want to start trouble. So I'm going to show up and I'm probably going to have... body armor of some sort. I'm going to have a helmet of some sort.
This should be happening. What's happening right now at North Dakota should be happening with the Black Lives Riots movements, where they're smashing fucking goddamn.
Well, we can go there if you want.
I mean, look at it.
We can go there if you want.
Look at what's happening. Nobody does anything to the rioters.
I disagree, and here's why.
Why is that?
This goes back, and we're going to loop all this in and somehow make it back around to Donald Trump.
Oh, I'm pretty sure it will.
This goes back to the World Trade Organization riots back in, was it 2010?
What was it?
It was up in Seattle. I forget the year.
Was it that Occupy shit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's what triggered Occupy.
Yeah.
Okay, so prior to that, there was a very similar situation as NAFTA and TPP called the World Trade Organization.
Yeah.
They were meeting in Seattle to talk about trade. Mm-hmm. And basically what they were trying to do is restrict U.S. minimum wage. They were going to try to put caps on minimum wage.
Oh,
there were foreign companies trying to influence U.S. law.
Yeah, I remember this.
Okay, so it was up in Seattle.
Yeah.
Which was a bunch of, let's be honest, potheads and coffee drinkers. Well, just throwing that out there.
That's Seattle.
So generally peaceful. I mean, when's the last time you see someone smoke a big doobie and go get in a bar fight?
Yeah, when have you seen a pothead fucking fight
shots
somebody?
of Jameson, maybe. A big bong hit. You're eating Cheetos and hugging and
you're sitting
me
in
you
the
love
grass
me.
somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are so frame this. Those are the type of people that are protesting. Mm-hmm. In the middle of this,
peaceful vegans.
Yes. In the middle of this. Carrying their very intimidating signs. Mm-hmm. They're protesting. But there's this one person in the middle of the protest that's going, yeah, let's break some windows. And he's knocking over.
It was a cop. It was a fucking cop. And
plant.
they told him to get the fuck out of there.
They recognized him because he had polished boots on.
Mm-hmm.
He was dressed the part in every respect.
Yeah.
Except his boots were shiny and polished. Now, once he was found out, he wigged the fuck out and pulled his piece.
Yeah.
And told everyone to get back. And that's when his other buddy, who was also amongst the crowd, came in, gun drawn, and they both got in like SWAT position and got themselves out of harm's way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but here's my point: is that happens daily. You don't think that happened during Ferguson? You don't think that happened during... That's a common tactic that these cops are using.
It either makes people turn against themselves, or it makes them go violent to where they can arrest all of them.
So fast forward to what you said.
Yeah.
So let's say we're in what city did you use?
I didn't use a city. I was just using
Black Lives Matter. Just any riot.
So yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So let's use Ferguson. So let's say you're a black kid. You grew up in a very and I took real estate, and one thing that we did study was there were legitimate laws to prevent me from getting the same interest rate and live in the same area as a white person.
Yeah.
It was institutionalized racism. That's fact. Okay. And how during the Seattle riots, the law enforcement is known to insert instigators to make the media think that peaceful protests are in fact violent protests.
Yes,
So this is a common tactic. It's been used hundreds of times. I would guess it wouldn't take a lot to piss someone off like now, who's pissed off about Trump, or someone who's been brutalized by cops, who's had been profiled, been pulled over freaking a dime bag of weed and beat the shit out of because they, were black. It wouldn't take a whole lot to instigate those people. So I don't jump on the bandwagon to automatically say, "Oh, Black Lives Matter." They break into a CVS and catch it on fire. I would hazard to guess a lot of that is actually started by law enforcement plants. Because a law enforcement, think about it. If I'm a military or if I'm a cop and I get this new toy, and this new toy is a armored personnel carrier, or I get this new toy that's a sound cannon.
Yeah.
Shoots the dick off of bees.
Right. So I don't get trained. Here's the problem I've got with cops is they don't get training on de-escalation. They don't get training on sociology or psychology.
Mm-hmm.
They get training on weapons. And so if the more I train on something, the more I want to use it. It's like a video game. I get this new fancy piece of fucking gear. I'm ready to throw down. I'm a Rambo motherfucker.
Yeah.
So fast forward to Ferguson. People get upset, rightly so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I want to use this equipment. Well, all we have to do, this is a fire ready to start. It doesn't take nothing but to send a plan in to stir it up. Next thing you know, I start a fire.
Yeah.
That happens all the time. It's been proven. It's been documented.
Yeah.
Okay, so fast forward that. So we've got the issue that happened in Seattle. I'm guessing somewhere around 2010. That stuff kind of blew into the Black Lives Matter, the police brutality situation. Okay, then you get into the DAPL Standing Rock situation where they're taking over, doing that. Now we have the riots about Trump. History is cyclical. The French Revolution, the Russian Revolution, the elites take over, keep their foot on people. They live in a bubble. They don't understand people's frustration.
Trump didn't even know that he won.
Exactly. So I think what you're seeing is people finally in the U.S. getting fed the fuck up with bullshit bureaucracy, over criminalization of petty crimes like weed, hyper militarization of cops. You're busting people for victimless crimes. You're throwing everyone in fucking prison. You're working more hours for less. I remember having this conversation. I was in the corporate world, obviously, and I remember having this conversation with my nephew who worked at the NEX. Right, he worked at a military commissary, and he would tell me stories. I would laugh at him because they would sit there and call these minimum wage, like $7 an hour, 17 and 18-year-olds, and they'd go, listen, December we have to sell more than we did in November. In December, we have to sell more than we did last December. And they'd give them these pep talks, and it was all do more for less. We've got, there's 10 people in the department. We only have 8 people in the department. We're going to hold off on hiring those other 2 because we're going to do as much as we did with 10, we're going to do with 8. Right?
That makes sense, though.
It's the American way. Let's do more for less. So what happens is you get into a situation, dude, it's a pressure cooker. You know what I'm saying? Because you're just squeezing people. You're making them do more and more and more. And we're not fucking zombies. We're not robots.
Yeah.
And people eventually get fed up. People eventually is like, look, I've had enough. And meanwhile, who's reaping the benefits? It's not me doing the work. It's some CEO who's buying his 3rd fucking jet. Why does he need 3 jets?
Got the snake crawling.
For those of you who don't know, we have a snake climbing all over the microphone.
And there he goes.
Edgar is curious. We're just going to watch the snake now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm going to pause this because something's going on where it shouldn't be. Okay.
Okay, so anyway, I think shit's hit the fan. And do you remember me having this conversation with you? You were Gary Johnson. I was Bernie Sanders originally and was starting to lean towards Jill Stein. And I made that statement, I don't know, a month ago, 6 weeks ago. And I was like, you know what? I hate to say this, but Donald Trump might just be what we need to rattle the fuck out of the system and wake people the fuck up. Unfortunately, that's come true. And although he's come up with some things that are interesting, like the term limits and stuff like that, my fear is he's touched a nerve because he's so at least his rhetoric. Who knows who he's really like? Who knows what he's really going to do? But at least what he said so far is very, very, very similar to Hitler, which is why everyone's rioting tonight. Is a lot of people are scared the fuck to death that they're gonna get deported, or if they're fucking LBGT, that the cops are just gonna fucking beat them up just because they're gay.
Here's the thing, though. He knows his whole life was TV, man.
True.
Running for election is just TV.
True. Yeah, who knows what he's really like? But perception's reality, and what he said has come back to haunt him. Because people are scared, dude. People are fucking scared. Have you been watching what's going on tonight? Dude, New York looks like...
we elected him, though, so...
Dude, that's what you keep saying. But
we elected him.
New York... You can say we all you want. I didn't fucking like that motherfucker.
I didn't fucking vote.
I didn't vote either.
Well, we cumulatively, America, decided, guess what? We got Trump.
Well, I think Bernie Sanders sat out. All the people that would have voted Bernie didn't go to the polls. And I think who elected Trump is a scary element of our society that we didn't really know how many fucking there were of them. Mm-hmm. Which is ignorant, bigoted, racist, white supremacist fucks. And yeah,
well,
everyone's
why can't
got...
the people who voted for Trump not be bigoted, racist, whatever? Why couldn't it just been, I don't want Hillary because she's evil and she gets people killed?
Well...
Why do they have to be racist, bigoted because they voted for Trump?
I'm not saying they all were, but a lot of them were. He touched that element. I hated both of them. I think it's a sad situation where those are our two choices. 300 million people, you're telling me those are the best two people we could come up with to run the country?
Exactly. I mean...
You have lost your mind if you think those are the two best.
We elected them.
That doesn't mean they're the best. That means our system's broken, and that means society's broken. Dude, we're Rome. We're Rome. Most countries don't last but a couple hundred years, and they collapse from within. There seems to be a critical mass of how many people you can get together before shit goes to fuck. Mm-hmm. I mean, if we're just in a tribe and it's just us three can go fucking anywhere and we'll get along. I mean, we'll have our differences, we'll bicker, we'll fucking cuss each other out, whatever. But, you know, we'll make it happen if we have to feed ourselves and we have to live if it's just us three on a fucking desert island. If it gets to be a point when you make a nation, when you make a state, there seems to be some weird number. There's this dynamic where you get so many fucking people. It's almost like a weight limit. Eventually you get to a situation where just the system itself can't hold the weight. You get a number of people and it just collapses. Look at all the societies that have collapsed throughout history.
Do you think it's the number, or do you think that to have so many people, you have to rally them behind something? And over the course of time, over those hundreds of years, that thing that they use the people to rally them with changes, and it's no longer what it is.
That's a brilliant fucking point. No, that's a brilliant fucking point. Because think of when
we don't know what we're rallying against now.
When were we our greatest?
Humans are together when we have an enemy because we're war people.
That's scary. It's
we
true.
don't have an enemy.
It's true. Yeah. And you flounder and then shit happens.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Rome was its greatest when it was growing. The minute it got to its maximum strength, then you had Nero, which was just fucking nightmare.
Neo stopping bullets. And
Caligula.
Shit out of Matrix.
They were fucking donkeys.
No, he doesn't know what you're talking about. He doesn't know history.
No, you said Nero, and I super said, fuck that Neo Matrix.
He doesn't know what Gattaca is.
Don't do that, bro.
Yeah, then get your shoes off my fucking table because the mic can pick it up.
Yeah, I think it's definitely an interesting situation. The only thing that there's two things that bother me about Trump. God, I hate to fucking say this, and I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm almost glad that it was him over Hillary just because she was stat low and, like you said, so fucking evil.
Dude,
and we need to rattle the
same
system.
thought everybody else has.
Everyone
is saying, "Oh, because you voted for Trump, you're racist, bigoted." No, man.
A lot of them are.
Hey, you know Ted Danson.
Well,
but how many people are not racist? Show me one not racist person, and I will show you a liar.
What? I'm not racist.
Everybody's a little racist.
Dude, I'm Native American. I'm not real racist. I like...
Everybody is racist. Fuck you, that's a thing.
But eventually we should all get to a higher level.
Yeah. And we're slowly but surely getting there. We haven't been existing for that long in the first place.
That is true.
We are in an era now where we do not have to have war.
True.
We don't have to do it.
But we're doing it anyway, so why are we doing it?
Because it makes money. And money is the only thing that makes the world go round.
And we don't need money either.
Yeah, but there's no other way to have 7 billion people exist in one area.
You don't need money.
You do.
Why do you need money?
What are you going to do for trades and services?
Okay. I'll give you a piece of grass.
You can't have that with
Sure you can.
that many people, though.
Sure you can.
You can't have 7 million people and be like, okay, so you make the bread and I'll make the pepperoni. You make the sauce, bro.
There's this Star Trek.
Someone at some point is going to be like, why am I doing this for you?
No, that's not true. We grow out of that eventually. There's a famous Star Trek episode, and almost everything that Star Trek had has come to fucking fruition. Flip phones, all that shit that people thought were just wild fucking sci-fi bullshit.
Yeah, they
all came true. Okay, so one of the episodes is there was someone from our era. There was someone from the 20th century that showed up that was frozen, and they found him and they thawed him out or whatever, and they brought him back and they went to the hologram or the whatever it is that made their food.
Mm-hmm.
And the dude was like starving, and they went up to it and he got the free food and he was like, okay, well, how much is it? And they just looked at him. Because his concept was everything revolved around money. Well, they had progressed to a point where people just did shit just to help the greater good.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, they outgrew the whole concept of money. And if you were a good artist, you just did it. And then, people would like get your art. You in other words, you're...
That's okay, but still...
That will happen.
Then what happens when you need to build something?
Then you build it.
How?
I get with you and I say, hey, dude, let's
We
go
need
build
to build
house.
a Star Cruiser.
Okay, let's go build a Star Cruiser. Where are we going to get the materials? Oh, well, I know this dude, David over here, and he's got, he really gets into like making steel.
But
He's like
David's
a
an
metallurgist.
alcoholic.
David doesn't want you to have his shit
Okay,
because
then we
he's got a
find
plum
Jim.
with you.
Then we have Jim. Eventually, if you've got 7 billion people, you can't tell me you can't find someone that just, dude, I've been working on this metal that's fucking, it's an alloy, and I added just this much copper, and this shit's super strong. I would love to see someone turn it into something.
But it's going to take more than one person to build a Star Cruiser.
Yes.
It's going to take thousands.
Yes, but you're living...
So what do those thousands of people get
Here we go, people.
for building this?
You're letting
Something
the current paradigm
that's gone
box
completely
you in.
wrong.
You got to think outside the box.
Talking
You're
about a
just thinking
Star
of today.
Cruiser and the...
And it's almost
topic
like
of
I'm
money
trying to have a conversation with you, and you ride horse and buggy, and
I
I'm
don't know
trying to
what's
tell you
going
that
on.
this new invention called
I'm a
an
little
automobile, and you're going, fuck you. We've always had horses. Horses need shoes. We
Gonna
have
need
to
your
have
help
horses.
to get out of this topic.
Follow me? Eventually, there's
Sort
always
of.
something different. There's always
But
something beyond
I
that.
just don't understand how goods and services would be traded.
How were they
amongst
before money?
7
Money's
billion
new.
people.
Nobody cares.
Money's new.
Nobody cares.
No, we've always had things to trade for. Didn't
We
Indians
can
have
find something else to
wampum?
talk about.
Even before that.
Sure, we could. We could do this.
No.
It's okay.
Humans have been
Hey, guys.
around in
Then
civilization.
why did
Who the fuck
why
wants
did
to
the
buy
rich
and build
people
Star Cruiser?
collect
When
gold?
you could build a Millennium Falcon.
That did not. What are you doing?
I'm nothing.
That didn't happen until
They didn't find out.
I mean, Egyptians, they fucking
yeah, but
they
they
had
it wasn't used as currency. They did it. Gold was
no, but
only
it was a
used
sign
for
of
art.
wealth.
They're still
Okay,
talking.
yeah, but
I don't know.
no, it was a
What
sign
did the
of
pharaohs
art.
wrapped in?
Find out
No,
what I
it
was
was a
doing.
sign of art. So here's an example.
We can go.
So
Yeah,
the Inca,
but Joe Blow doesn't
Okay.
get wrapped in gold when
I'm
he
going to
dies.
answer your question if you let me.
It's still weird.
I don't want to.
Okay, then don't let me. Okay,
Boring.
the Incas had an empire, and when
What?
when the conquistadors came to the New World,
Yeah.
they were obsessed with this weird gold, right? The Incas used gold,
They found me out.
but there was no monetary value associated with it, okay? And the Incas at that time didn't use money. They had a leader that they looked up to.
Look at me, man. I don't know what's going on.
Because he was a good orator, okay? He was just a good talker. It was like the three of us. Let's say the three of us
Wait,
decide.
but didn't they trade cocoa beans with each other?
No, that was way later.
Wow.
It's way later.
Gattaca.
Not cocoa beans, chocolate beans. Cacao.
Well, yeah, you traded for stuff, but the people within the empire, you worked for the king. Just because you elected, and even the Native Americans elected the best speaker. They agreed. And this is where white men, freaked the fuck out because they thought, hey, he's a king, he can make all the decisions, we're going to sign the treaty with him. That's not how they worked. It was a very collaborative effort. So it'd be like if the three of us are in our room, and we said, listen, we've got someone that needs to make a decision here, right? Well, fucking, Brett is good at decision making. I mean, he just seems to be good at it. He likes it. I trust him.
I don't.
So we both
You're
agree.
talking to the wrong people.
We both agree. Let's let Brett make all the decisions. That's how it worked. It was very a loose organization. It was nothing like what we had today. Okay. Now they had gold. They used gold in art. It was fucking everywhere. They didn't think twice about it. Then when the Spanish got there, the Spanish were fucking out of their mind. And it was all about money, but the Incas didn't understand currency. It was a foreign concept. Dude, this was in the 1540s. This wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, but they traded things amongst each other to get things.
No, only they traded to outside people who couldn't make what they could internally. In other words, like you said, cocoa beans.
But if you wanted something, okay,
yeah,
you had to give somebody else something so you could get that.
Yeah, but it was
So
a
what
very loose situation.
Yeah, so now you want to build a Star Cruiser.
Okay.
and now you have to go trade 15,000 things before you can even get to being able to trade with this person who has Star Cruiser
Okay,
parts.
well, nowadays we have this thing called a 3D printer. Once I have a 3D printer, might be able to make all the parts myself, and I don't even need you at all.
Yeah, but you still need
Raw materials.
raw materials.
Yeah, so I go get raw materials. Hey, Brett.
So someone just has who has these? Where the raw materials come from?
Well,
Everyone just has a little bit of everything?
You transition, and eventually we just go find shit that we need. You know,
there's that many people on the world. 7 billion.
Do you know what nanotechnology
all of the
is?
things are claimed at that point.
Have you heard of nanotechnology?
Yeah, I know what tiny robots are.
Okay. So nanotechnology gets to a situation where robots make themselves. Robots make robots. And robots make a specific type of robot.
Yeah, just like 3D printers can upgrade themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Once I get to a situation where I've got a bunch of nanorobots, I can say, you know what? I want a pair of shoes. Nanorobots, make me those shoes. The nanorobots...
Okay, that's fine. But logistically, I don't understand how you
roll
got
out
to the point
and
of owning
assemble.
nanobots.
Columbus didn't understand the world was round. There's things you're not going to understand. It doesn't mean
but
they
I'm trying
can't
to understand logistically how you get large quantities of things
nanorobots
if
could
money
do it.
does not exist.
So you think we
but
have
how
to
do
have
you
money?
get nanobots?
You can't envision.
You have to have people research
Can
things,
you envision a world
build
without money?
nanobots.
Can you envision a world ever, like 1,000 years from
What
now
he's
without
pretty
money?
much saying is just imagine what we're doing right now
I'm just asking
without
a question.
money.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's it. That's all you have to look at it as.
How?
Just do the same thing we're doing right now, just
Why do you
without
need
money.
You don't need money.
Wow.
But I don't
End of story.
But I don't understand how things go around.
Exactly the same way it's going right now. Just no money.
It happened
So
before
then
money, and
so
it's going
who-
to happen after money.
You just do it.
Who gets what? What percentage of what?
Why do you need percentage?
Well, okay. So
Then that's
I
money.
want to build a starship. He
So
wants
build
to
a
build a
starship.
starship too.
You have nanorobots. Build a starship.
Yeah,
Knock yourself out.
cool.
You want some help? I think that'd be a cool
Amazon,
project. I'll
bro.
help you.
I don't understand.
Why do you need to
Just-
build a
just
starship when you can
nanobots
order it from
automatically
Amazon?
Are there?
No, we transition. You didn't fly before you walked. You don't run before you walk. Everything's a transition. Things progress. You don't start just like wave a magic wand.
You don't go from pussy just straight to ass fucking.
Right?
Oops.
Oh, wow.
You gotta have some foreplay, Brett.
You
At
gotta,
least
lu-
kiss first.
you gotta lube up the hole. You gotta eat the booty a little bit.
First,
I choke her first. You spit in her mouth first.
I choke her, then
Money's
spit in her mouth.
obsolete eventually.
Then I say you're welcome.
Just like,
Google, can you...
You know, it just
that?
doesn't make sense to me how
I got a
Google
phone, bro.
Venus Project. We're gonna help him.
So what about people with large ambitions?
You don't have large ambitions. What are you talking about, man?
No, I mean other people, like people who rule countries.
Okay.
What does that have to do with money?
They're gonna have to go the way of the dinosaur in this vision.
So then, how does the world work?
How does it work? Do we need them for the world to work?
No, what are the people going to do if they have nothing to rally?
Are you a
I'm
Thomas?
not talking about the individual.
Look, man, this is
I'm
starting to
talking
sound like a
about
shitty
the mass.
Dave Matthews song.
It takes education. It takes culture. It takes change.
It's not going to happen in our lifetime.
Definitely not our life.
No.
Definitely not our life.
The Venus Project proposes an alternative vision of what the future can be like if we apply what we already know in the order to achieve a sustainable new world civilization. It calls for a straightforward redesign of our culture in which the old age of war, poverty, hunger, debt, and unnecessary human suffering are viewed not only as avoidable but as totally unacceptable. Anything less will result in a continuation of the same catalog of problems inherit the world today.
So there's a city. This concept was started by an engineer. And an engineer said, listen, everything right now is a monetary-based society. What he said is what we should transition to eventually once we grow up is a resource-based society. So there's enough resources on the planet that everyone can be fed. The problem is the people that you mentioned want more than their share. Okay, so a little bit of that's kind of a communist, Marxist kind of idea. But if we train our children that, and the Indians did this, the Native Americans, when Columbus landed, they never took more than they needed. They didn't kill more buffalo than what they needed that day, because they knew that there would be buffalo there tomorrow, as long as they didn't kill them all. So they killed just enough to eat for that day. There was no such thing as hoarding. That's a white man concept, is to have more than you need. Most indigenous cultures around this world...
Push that mic more out and towards you.
Most of the indigenous cultures around the world are a very day-to-day, live in the moment. I'm not going to collect and hoard. I don't need more than you. You and I are the same.
Yeah.
I don't need, just because you have one wampum doesn't mean I need 7 wampums. It just makes no sense.
That's why animals go extinct.
And so they raised their children that way, and then the culture became that way. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So what this engineer his name is Jacques Fresco, I think. He was an engineer in the 70s, and he came up with this concept is to blend kind of that culture and that philosophy of like the Native American and indigenous peoples with modern day technology. He envisioned a time where you don't need a worker be in a factory because the robots did most of the work. I saw that happen. I lived it. At the auto plant, half the workers that they used to need to build the plant were all done by robots. So eventually technology gets to a point where the robots do all the manual work and you need less and less people. This is what Trump's not talking about. He's talking about bringing jobs back. Jobs aren't coming back, dude. Technology has made certain jobs obsolete. Robots do it now. You don't need humans to do that anymore. Okay? So a factory that may, 10 years ago needed 1,000 people to make that widget may now only need 500 people. And 10 years from now, may only need 100 people.
Yeah.
Because technology improves.
So check this out. In a resource-based economy, all goods, services are available to the people without need of means of exchange such as money, credits, barter, or any other means. For this to be achieved, all resources must be declared as the common heritage of all Earth's inhabitants. Equipped with the latest scientific and technological marvels, mankind could reach extremely high productivity levels and create abundance of resources. Resource-based economy concerns itself with 3 main factors, mainly environmental, technology, and human. We invite you to investigate further into these factors and discover more about the Venus Project.
Basically, what he's talking about is Star Trek. He's talking about getting us out of this mentality about not having enough.
Yeah.
And realizing, because there's enough oxygen on this planet for everyone to breathe. There's enough water for everyone to drink. And there is enough food for everyone to eat. There's no reason whatsoever anyone should starve.
World hunger is
I
bullshit.
don't think
That shouldn't
humans
exist.
Can live without the 7 deadly sins. This shit sounds awesome, and it would totally work if greed,
You have to be enlightened.
anger, lust didn't exist.
No, that's always going to happen.
Yeah, this is
That's
a way
always
of
going
life.
to happen. But there was a time where it was normal for me to just punch you in the face and get away with it.
Yeah, but
society over time has said, no, that's taboo. Chill the fuck out, dude.
Yeah, what they're talking
so
about is
what
having
you're
a
talking
society
about,
without
some of
poverty.
your primal things that you're talking about will transition eventually. You see what I'm saying? They'll always be there, and we'll find a way to have those outlets, maybe in a sport, or some game,
Some way to get your aggression out.
to get that out. But what this concept, this Venus concept, is kind of is the modern day Star Trek.
I don't think humans have it in them.
I do.
To be able to live.
You're a
like
pessimist. I'm an optimist.
that. I mean, I feel like I'm just being real. Humans suck.
I think we're immature.
Well,
I
it's
think
not
if you
going to
look at
happen.
humans, if you look at humanity as a human, okay, so
Yeah.
take all humanity and envision one human. I think as humanity, we're like 10 or 12 years old.
I think this is
Right?
very plausible.
I think eventually we grow up as
Yeah,
a species.
it just won't happen for another 100 and some years.
Maybe.
Yeah, or maybe sooner, because it's very
things happen
possible.
Faster and faster exponentially.
Oh, yeah.
We have no goal set forth for people to
Go to Mars.
Yeah, there's a lot of people with goals. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Elon Musk is my fucking man crush.
I'm not talking about one person. I'm talking about all people. People have no cumulatively, individually in sections, sure, but cumulatively does not have the goal or the desire to become enlightened.
I agree. But having said that, look what just happened yesterday. Florida, can I get a hell yeah?
Hell yeah!
Passed medical marijuana.
Yeah, I'm high right now.
Dude, California passed recreational.
I know.
Marijuana, yeah.
Okay, what does that do to society?
Oh yeah, it makes them smarter eventually.
Well, it also makes people want to be less warlike.
Well, no,
if
all
more people
marijuana
are stoned,
does is give you the ability for you to realize how much information you actually process.
well, it does a lot of things.
It does, yeah.
It makes you internalize. It makes you look inward. It makes you self-critical. It makes you...
Yeah, you realize how much you actually think, and then you think the thoughts that you...
You don't think that'll change culture in a dramatic fucking way?
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
In like the past 10 years, 26 states are now have legalized marijuana.
So what happens the next step? Okay, so let's say psilocybin becomes legal. And let's say DMT becomes legal. And let's say ayahuasca becomes legal. Dude, we're talking, you add that with technology?
It is mind-blowing.
We're in an accelerated pace of change right now, dude. This is like the 60s times 1,000.
In the next 15 to 20 years...
I think it's positive.
So
I don't
much
feel
shit
negative
would
at all.
happen, yeah.
I mean, yeah, things are a little wonky right now, and you know, Trump does scare me, but I think people are waking the fuck up.
I think our country, or the way society is like a newborn calf. You're not walking correctly.
Yeah,
but
you're all gangly and freaking goofy.
You give it like 10, 20 minutes to a couple days.
Yeah, you're a fine old fucking machine.
Mm-hmm. You're like a fucking stallion.
I think what happens is, I think what we're seeing is the death hurl of old white men.
Oh yeah.
The younger generation is way more liberal. They're way more enlightened. They're way more open. They're way more friendly to gays, to blacks, to alternative lifestyles. That's who passed the medical marijuana. It wasn't the white men that voted that in. It was people your age that were like, fuck this shit. That's a stupid law. You know? I'm telling you, I think I'm excited about the new generation.
Yeah, me too, man.
You know, and things are going to get worse before they get better.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're going to have that growing pain, and it's going to be brutal. I think Edgar went to sleep on me. But I foresee a world without money, and I think money is a big reason why it's holding us back. That concept is holding us back from bigger things. Worrying about me, I need more than you. Dude, I lived it. I'm a walking example. I walked away. I had the fancy car. I lived that lifestyle. I walked the fuck away. Because there's more to life than just jobs. There's more to life than money, and there's more to life than me having more than you. Oh, I could easily have more than you. I've had more than you.
Damn, son.
But I've walked away from it because that's not important to me.
There's no wrong way to eat Reese's.
Exactly. And I think more people become like me, not in an egotistical way, but more people waking up. I'm just following that path that others set before me. And ayahuasca was the big changing point for me. I mean, it's a reboot on your fucking hard drive.
I apologize. I'm sorry.
You know, and I think weed is that answer to society. I think the more people that smoke weed and the more people that do psilocybin, and I think that's what the government was scared of.
Yeah, because more people will chill the fuck out.
Richard Nixon I mean,
Dude,
there was proof.
it's difficult to control enlightened people.
Why would you want to control? Yeah, exactly.
Richard Nixon did the equivalent to what Hillary Clinton did, and she's not in jail, which is still fucking surprising. He got impeached. No, he stepped down.
Yeah, he resigned.
He
Well,
resigned.
he did not rerun.
Yeah.
He only did a 4-year term.
He did a 4-year term, but he didn't finish the 4-year
walked
term.
away,
Yeah,
yeah.
He resigned before.
And he was going to.
If he didn't resign, he would got impeached.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Bill Clinton got impeached.
Did Bill Clinton get impeached?
Yeah,
I thought he
absolutely.
resigned.
No, he got impeached. But all impeachment means is it's like a slap on the wrist. Impeachment doesn't mean what you think.
I know it's not what
he didn't get fired.
No.
But he did get impeached. Impeachment, I think, is just the trial, the name of the trial. Which in itself is putting the president under trial is like a big deal. That's like a big step. Like, I've got the balls enough to put you on trial, motherfucker. But Clinton was impeached.
Oh, yeah. It says Bill Clinton was acquitted. The Senate did not reach the 2 out of 3 majority needed to fully process his impeachment.
Right.
Clinton was impeached by the White House on 2 charges. The first being perjury, and the second being obstruction of justice.
You don't like those guys?
Yeah. He got impeached. Oh, tricky dick.
It's that kind of personality, the same kind of personality that makes you good at being aggressive and running for office is also the same kind of aggressive personality that gets you laid.
Yeah, that
it's the same gene.
That winner, that overconfidence.
Cockiness,
Yeah.
that confidence. Yeah.
Overpowering. I'm a winner, always will be a winner personality.
It makes you a good leader.
Yeah.
And women are attracted to it. They're like throwing their pussy at you.
And you gotta grab it.
And you gotta grab it.
And yank.